Same. So good. Well, thank you for being here. Hello, Rebecca, and people who are watching the replay. Be sure to comment and let us know that you're watching. But I am so excited to introduce you guys. If you've never met my friend Rebecca, she is a feel-good marketing and content creation coach, and she is here to talk to us about her special spark, but hopefully in doing so, really invite you into tapping into what your special spark is, or if you already know what it is, being braver to unleash it. So welcome, Rebecca, and introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. So honored to join. My name's Rebecca. I love helping women, healers, coaches, online service providers, people with that like heart-centered gift that you talk about, to just really unlearn any rules about marketing that don't feel good to them, and sort of ways that they're supposed to create content or show up online that either don't feel in an integrity or aren't, don't work for their lifestyle, all that stuff, and just like toss them and actually really just share their story, their truth, their aha moments from a place of vulnerability, authenticity, and like really empowerment. And do that and have that be what drives their business, and really have every part of their business feel good. Not just what they do, but the actual getting of clients, which, for so many people I talk to, they've basically either said, all right, I know this doesn't really feel aligned for me, but it's what I have to do to get hired. And so they've kind of like grit and do it. Or they've like opted out of the whole online world completely because it like doesn't jive with their values, or they're not down with certain things or whatever. And then they're like, oh, I just get my business from referrals, like whatever. And I think that there's a way to actually navigate this world of online marketing from a really empowered, really self-aware, and really loving place. And I mean, I could go on, but that's like the heart of what I do.
I love that we already like tapped in, right? Like that's already your thing. And I think it's so beautiful because you're right. I think, hi, Hannah, by the way, thank you for joining us. So often I think women, who are heart-centered will say that, right? Like, I know I love XYZ, being a health coach, being like a relationship coach, whatever it is, right? But this whole marketing thing stinks, right? So I'm not good at it. So that means that I just like drawing so many conclusions instead of what if there was a way where I could be good at my thing and also find a way to make this marketing thing feel good.
Yeah, totally.
So beautiful. I feel like I have like 9 questions for you from that, but let's take it one by one. So has it always been that way for you, Rebecca? Like, has it always been that way? Doing your marketing.
It's not.
So tell us that story, please. Tell us the story.
Opposite of good. So I've always been, I've always liked to write, and I worked for an online marketing agency for 7 years after school. And, I liked a lot of it, and I'm pretty like, know a lot about online marketing. And then when I started my business, really the only way I saw it done online was this kind of like, I call it I've arrived marketing. And it was like this very formulaic, I used to struggle. I was a hot mess. Then I found my thing. Now I've arrived and my life is perfect. And if you follow my like 3-step formula, you can have this perfect life too. And I always kind of felt like I should be further along than I am in order to like get clients. Like it was always there to an extent. And I actually was pretty successful early on. And like, my business did hit 6 figures in revenue. Like I did, fill out my one-on-one practice. I did a couple runs with my group program. And I was pretty like, it was very grindy. So like, not only did I feel like I had to be perfect, I also was like working really hard. And I'm no stranger to hard work, but I think that when it's laced with this anxiety of feeling not good enough, it feels harder, right? And it's draining and it's not as sustainable. So I got just kind of like bored and burnt out. And so I make crazy illogical like decisions. So I decided to do this program called Remote Year, where you travel to 12 countries in 12 months. So like sold all my stuff and got on a plane to Uruguay and did that. And then I would say about halfway through, I kind of had like, I sort of call it the launch from hell, But I was doing this call called the Feel Good Marketing Formula. And I was still like in old paradigm marketing, Rebecca, where it was like push, crunch, like go, like anxiety. And the launch was not going well, which as a marketing coach is like highly stressful. And for me at the time, I was like, oh my God, I'm a fraud. I'm a failure. Like this sucks. And then I was a part of a mastermind group and I promoted the call in that group, not really thinking I was like promoting it, but I was just kind of unconscious and rushing and just like, oh, I'll throw this in there and maybe somebody will be interested in it. And I ended up getting just like attacked and like my character was picked apart. And it was really my first experience with like what I consider to be online bullying. And, you know, whatever it was, it really cracked me open. I was in Serbia at the time. I remember I was like on my now ex-boyfriend's Wi-Fi. I was like having this whole thread of like, the whole thing was just so intense. And I ended up posting probably the most vulnerable thing I'd ever posted on Facebook, just being like, I feel sad, I feel scared, I'm confused. I also, like, I don't know, I was just really, really fucking honest. Sorry, I don't know if you're okay with me cursing. Oops.
You're fine. You're fine. You're totally fine.
And so it was my first post that like went mini viral, you know, and like it got like hundreds of likes and comments and all these people just were like so loving and like a light bulb went off and I was like, I can be vulnerable online and it doesn't, like my big thing, like, cause I think we all want to be vulnerable. We want to be loved for who we really are. But as coaches and healers and people who are like selling the dream, if you will, like it's really scary. I can feel like if I tell the truth, what if I reduce my credibility? And then what if I don't make money, right? And so it's like a very real, very scary, not only that's like the surface level, but then underneath that, you know, we're also conditioned to be liked and approved of, and we want connection, especially as women, especially as spiritual women. And so this fear of being like, not just not liked, but like shunned or criticized publicly, like all this stuff is like, there's layers upon layers of stuff that comes into literally putting your soul's work out there online. And so I just find the whole conversation super fascinating. I'm trying to even remember what you asked in the first place, but that's where my mind took me. So that event, I started writing like multiple times a day on my personal Facebook wall, just because I like wanted to. Like nobody told me to do it. In fact, I think a couple people were like, maybe you should share a little less. Like, it's a lot, Rebecca. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just felt like so liberated, and I felt so like, you know, people just started writing to me like, oh my God, I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only one. Thank you. You know, I was in tears thinking about quitting my business. And then I read your post and I realized you've been doing this a long time and you still struggle. And it made me feel like I wasn't the only one. And, you know, now I'm recommitted and then this happened. You know what I mean? Just like good stuff. And so, I don't know. Yeah.
I love that. I think it's such a beautiful answer and a reminder that when we're sharing our truth, right? Like whether that's, I mean, you didn't really choose to share. I mean, you chose, but like you were kind of forced into it, right? Yeah. But I mean, you did choose because you could have chosen to like shut it all down, right?
Totally.
But like being forced in that
I think subconsciously a part of me knew like the best marketing is interesting, right? And so like raw, real stuff. Like I think there was a part of me that's like, I wonder what'll happen. But like it was like a surprise. Do you know what I mean? Anyway.
Totally.
Kate,
I love you. Yay! Hi, Kate. Kate and Hannah are hanging out with us. I love too that, you know, okay, you were forced into that decision. Am I going to show up or am I going to disappear? Okay, I'm going to show up where I'm at, right? Which is like my Facebook wall, right? Like just my person, like I love that it doesn't matter where it is, right? Whether it's in person or whether it's online through any social platform, right? When we're showing up and just sharing our truth, that is so attractive to the right people, right? It probably like turns off the people that aren't meant to be with us faster, but it probably attracts those dreamy clients faster. So can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I think it just turns the volume up on everything, right? And, you know, it's funny in the beginning, I got this like, pretty regular stream of like almost like hater energy, not haters, but like people who just, you know, didn't like my cursing or like would like disagree with my analysis of something or like whatever, you know, but I've felt way less of that lately, which is interesting. Say your question one more time. I'm sorry. I just,
no,
track.
That's great.
What was it exactly that you asked? Because I had one. I think I had something to say.
You're great. Yeah, I was just asking about that, what you were saying, which is like turning up the volume on your voice and your brand faster, right? Which people might be scared because they're like, initially I'm going to lose people, which is true, but you're also going to faster track.
Here's what I was going to say. The online world, like it's like putting out a message that's going to be approved of by everybody is not, it's like, it's so last year. Like, I don't know. I just think it's boring. And here's the thing. When I say it's boring, I have never met a woman doing this work who is boring. So sometimes I'll see somebody's marketing and then I'll talk to them on the phone and be like, you're so cool and interesting and dynamic and you have this like rich story, but like they're putting down this watered down version of themselves online. And usually it's some combination of shame, fear. Like some people have very real fears. Like, I'm scared if my kids see this, or I'm scared, I've had this difficult past and I want to protect my family from seeing, I don't know. There's a lot of different things, but I think we all have to, open up in our own time and in our own way. And not everybody is meant to be sort of this public person. But I think if you really do want to lead and transform in this public sphere, and you've said, I'm going to create a personal brand, the more you can do the work to really feel comfortable with yourself and to dive into and own your shadow. I think it's Brene Brown who says either you own your story or your story owns you. Wow. And so if you're hiding, if you're afraid to share truths about your life, that story is owning you. And if you're actually able to alchemize some of that darkness and find empowerment from it, that is so inspiring to people. And people just want to connect with other people. And I think, that's what I think.
I love that. Kate says it reminds me of that post someone shared on your wall recently that showed up in my feed, and how she used to disagree and now she's totally in your corner.
Well, that was so interesting because my ego at first, so this woman, I'll paraphrase, but she posted on my wall, I was following you for a while. I didn't quite know what to make of you. Something about my sickeningly sweet outlook on life, and that I had, what was the other one? The way I pronounced some of my words, or who knows, made her feel like she wasn't in my camp. But then she found herself in the hospital, having an anxiety attack. And she realized that the real reason was that she hadn't been letting herself process her feelings, essentially. And apparently that whole day when she was in the hospital, my face kept popping into her head and she kept thinking about me. So she wrote this long post on my Facebook wall, and it was just she was like, thank you, I'm a reborn fan. And I'm sorry I judged you. And I didn't know she was out there judging me, So who knows, there might be more, but it was no skin off my back that she was out there judging me, and it was actually good for her. And I think a lot of times our judgments about people that we see, they're just our disowned parts and pieces. And so I don't know. I think that's another interesting thing in the online world is just noticing your reactions to different personalities and characters and personal brands is super interesting, because we're all just these humans, right? None of us are perfect. And a lot of us are channeling divine wisdom, but it's coming through our human lens. And so it's not going to be perfect, but we can learn a lot about ourselves from how we see each other and how we engage.
So that is so true. I feel I learn more from the things I see online that I'm they make me angry, or they make me ew, that's icky, than the things that I resonate with almost. If I, half the time I'm unaware, but I feel half the time I am able to say okay, Why did that piss me off? And am I willing to like dive into that, right?
Totally. And usually it's something, you know, sometimes it's like, it's in contrast to like a core value of ours. And like, you know, not everything that I get angry about is a judgment that I think needs healing, like racism, bigotry, like, and like, you know, I should be angry about that stuff. You know, it's not good, but like sometimes it's like these limiting beliefs, or you'll be like, I had this a lot with like money coaches who were talking about the law of attraction. I was like, God, these people, like rolling my eyes, feeling superior, feeling like, you know, I work really hard for my money, like as if that was like a badge of honor. And sort of this like elitist, condescending, almost like an eye roll at like femininity and ease and magic. And like deep down, I crave all of those things. And I was just like looking at them and being like, these chicks, like I hate them. They have everything I want and they're letting themselves have it, you know? And like, meanwhile, I only seem to be able to have it or have those high income months when I'm like totally burnt out, or, you know, and I'm on this sort of like roller coaster of like burnout and money and all this stuff. And I just wasn't letting myself have it. And that's why I was judging them so hard. So
I love that example. I feel like the times that I've been judgiest, well, like not as recently, but like especially at the start, was like towards the like, oh, success lifestyle. Like, I don't know. It's just ironic because like, you know, you were traveling, but like, hey, here's my super fancy purse and my super fancy jet plane. And like that really triggered me a lot. And even though that isn't the success that I currently desire, mostly because I have little children, I feel like I do crave success in a different way, right? And so when I gave myself permission to say, no, I do deserve to be successful, even if it was different, how can I really honor someone's path that, as long as it's non-unethical, you know, wants to live their version of success, whatever that looks like, cheering for her and like letting my stuff be success too.
Totally. And I lived the laptop lifestyle, but I lived out of like 1.5 suitcase for a year and a half, suitcases, I don't even know, for a year and a half. And like, I mean, I was not exactly in a 5-star resort in Bali. I was like in an internet cafe in Bolivia, and then I was like all over Southeast Asia. So it was a little more, you know, it was fun and exciting and invigorating, but I don't know if it was like, I feel like my life was more luxurious in DC and is now again. Like that's totally. Sort of an interesting thing there. But yeah, I mean, it's so easy to judge what, like some version of what we secretly want, but won't let ourselves have. But I love what you pointed out there, as long as it's ethical, right? And so I do think we all have to have, you know, standards of ethics. And I think most of us are on the same page and on the same team. That's the funny part. Like we all there are very few women coaches and healers that I have met and not been like, you're cool, man. Like I would totally hang out with you, you know, like it's like a good people industry for the most part. And so it's just like remembering that we're all on the same team and we all grew up in different ways and we all had parents that said different things to us. And we all, for one person, a Chanel purse is like, you know, a symbol that she has made it and she's wanted since she was a little girl. And to another woman, it's like, you know, she would prefer to do something else with that. And you know what I mean? It's like so easy to, it doesn't actually help any of us. I'm trying to do this judgment thing. Like I'm really trying to be aware of all my judgments and just like be like, ooh, found another one. I'm like, oh, there's another one, just as I go through my day.
So good.
We pick up a lot, you know. It's heavy. We don't need to.
I feel like as you swore at the beginning of this interview, I was just thinking like I personally am not at all offended by swearing. And like I allow swearing in my group. Like I have clients who swear, right? But I personally don't swear. And so like for me to start swearing would be out of integrity. But for you 100%. To stop swearing would be out of integrity, right? Yeah. And so it's like, we don't have to perfectly look like one another in order to like, and I think that's such a good reminder. If you're like, if I speak up and speak my truth more on social media, if I speak my voice louder, am I going to turn off the people that are not just like me? And I don't think that's the truth, right? I think we just turn off the people that don't align with our core values. Because at least for me, like when I see women, even if they don't look exactly like me, as long as they like resonate with my deepest core values, like they empower me to be more of me, right? Like I don't feel like when I see something of yours, like, oh, I need to be more like Rebecca. I feel like, okay, wow, Rebecca's really rocking Rebecca. How can I be more of me, right?
Because like the world doesn't need two of me, you know. It needs you. It needs your special spark, not to like, you know, like boom, 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 perfect for your series.
Yes, but way to bring it full circle.
Yeah, I try. But really, like, and also sometimes there's this idea that you have to be like loud and dramatic and like a big personality, and I don't think that's true either. You know, like I think really about element that's really trusting and honoring what wants to come through. And for some people, it looks a lot of different ways. So, you know, some people love video, some people prefer writing, some people are really visual, some people are, you know, they're not as into online. They really like to speak and be in front of a room. There's no right or wrong way. There's no one way. And it's almost like, as I say this, I'm like, God, Rebecca, you sound like such a cliche, which is a judgment. But like, it's true, you know, like, really all we're doing is like monetizing some sort of personal transformation and skill set. And so you have a thing, there are people who need your help and they're going to buy your thing. And like, that's the only, like, you just have to get in front of those people. And there's like a zillion different ways and strategies to do that. And so you should learn from the people that resonate with you, that are kind of similar to you, that have been successful doing something that sounds appealing to you. And that's your way, you know?
Great nugget. I love that. As you were talking earlier, another question popped up for me too. And you don't have to share this if you don't want to. I guess that's a horrible caveat. But as you think about, like, as we were talking about spark, right? And how if we're in that like empowered, good mindset place, as we see other women in the industry being like sparky and great, then we're like, yay, like great job. Like we feel inspired by it. But at least for me, when I'm not in when I'm in like scarcity, anxious, frustrated, when I see other women being sparky, I'm like, dang it, why? Like I make it mean something about me. Like tell us how do you manage that? And maybe give us an example in your life of a time when you were, I don't know, how do you fight that when you're in that place?
Yeah, so I mean, there's just a couple things that I'm hearing that. Number one, I don't think we need to like fight it, right? Like it's like, I listen to a lot of Abraham Hicks. I'm really into the law of attraction. And, you know, their whole philosophy is that when you are in a place of like upset, like usually it's because you're thinking a thought that's not in alignment with your higher self. So like the reason I might be successful because I've had the thought that like, her having that means that there's not enough for me or that I can't have it. And it's literally not true. And so when you think it, you put energy behind it, you're creating a lot of tension in your system because there's a split. There's what your higher self knows is true. And then what your conscious mind is telling you is true. And when there's a split between those things, it causes a lot of friction and it's stressful and it separates you. So number one is just, I mean, I have a daily meditation practice. I did like an energy healing training program, and I do a lot of my own energy work. And so what that allows me to do is just be very aware of what's going on for me emotionally throughout the day. And so when I notice stuff, I like do my best, you know, sometimes life just happens, but I try to like tend to it. I try to be really gentle with myself. I try to like, when I'm in that place, like, not be like, you shouldn't be feeling this way, but just be like, oh, interesting. Like, you're human. Like, this is cool that this is happening. You know, right now, I feel like sometimes when you're really upset about something or really triggered, it can be hard to like do a total 180 and be like super, super positive. So I just try to like sort of soften around it and just be like nice to myself and be like, yeah, it's super normal. Like, for example, let's say like, your friend gets like some big interview that you wanted, or your biz bestie, and you're just like, everything's easier for her, like, nah, you know, it's like, okay, like makes total sense that you're feeling this way. This is like a coaching thing, like acknowledge and validate. You're supposed to do that to your client, but like, why not put that on yourself? So acknowledge and validate yourself. Like, make it safe, and then just really softly, really gently, just like remind yourself that you're going to be okay. Remind yourself of these universal truths, and just kind of like really gently guide yourself back. Is kind of what I would say.
I love that. I love you touched on this briefly too, but I think like the curiosity is so important too. Like when you're ready for it, right? Like maybe not initially, maybe you're not ready to be curious because you just need to unplug for a while. But I love that some of the questions you asked were curious, right? Like, why is this bothering me? Like, is this, you know, something that I desire, or is this something that, I mean, why am I being triggered like this? And it's like taking that step back, right? Instead of like, I feel like for me, what I want to do when I'm feeling triggered about something is like take a step in or like engage, right? And like fight. It's not really, but like mentally, like my anxiety is increasing. And I feel like when I instead take a step back and like look at things from a bigger perspective and get curious and start getting grateful, like those things really help shift my perspective.
Totally. And like, I really believe you can't shift a problem from the same mindset that created the problem in the first place. And so it's
so interesting.
You know, like you've got to, and it's all great content. Like, thank goodness I get triggered and like, I'm such a fucking human. Excuse me again. But like, I just, you know, like that's where all my best content comes from the fact that I'm like this highly sensitive being in this often quite insensitive world, and I'm interfacing with it, and then I kind of examine and I try to pull out a gem of wisdom. I mean, that's like, I teach my clients, like one of the first things I teach them is this sort of my content creation process, which is like what's happened in the last week or so that's kind of like either triggered you or made you think or kind of sparked something in you. So that's number one. Number two, what lesson did you take away from that? And number three, how does that apply to your clients? And that's sort of the backbone that I use in many, many of my posts. I mean, I put out little funny puns and stuff like that I just like make up in my head, but a lot of my stuff is just, it's like, what happened? What did I learn? How does it apply to my clients? And that really pulls out a lot of juice that's like deeply helpful in healing, both for you as just like a person, but also for your clients to learn from, you know?
So I love that you point out that it's like healing for ourselves and our clients. Because I know the times that I've shared my truthiest truths as, who says that? I think Glennon Doyle Melton says that or something. But like in those moments, I feel like it's not only been healing for my audience, but really healing for me, right? And like giving myself permission to, a lot of times I'll like put it on paper and then like wait, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I click post right away because I'm kind of impulsive. But sometimes I like, if it's especially sensitive, I'll like let it sit for an hour, right? And see like, is this, you know, is it, like, is it too raw or is it like just vulnerable and ready to go? But I love that you said that it is totally beneficial for our audience and for us both.
And I love what you said just now about, is it raw? Should I wait? Like, that's something I hear a lot because, like, I teach people vulnerable content, but, you know, how do you know if you should post or if you should wait or if it's too vulnerable or not? And so my thing is, it's all about the space and the energy that you're in afterwards. And, like, you know, if you've just had a death in the family, if something really traumatic has just happened and you, the thing when you put something out into the online world is you completely surrender control, and people are going to have their reactions, their opinions. They may misunderstand. They may shower you with love, right? You don't have control and you don't know. And so you know, if I'm feeling wobbly and off, I'll tend to wait a little bit until I'm feeling a little more solid. So more for me than for like how other people perceive me, because I know when I'm in a place of like grounded to my truth and feeling good, like criticism doesn't bother me, or somebody like misconstruing something won't bother me. But if I'm feeling like just really raw and I get like a weird response, then it might like, you know, send my system into a tizzy. And so I think that's important, is that it's just like having a basic self-care around like, you know, when you put something out into the online world, like do it from a space of feeling like centered and grounded if you can.
So good.
Because yeah.
I love that. My friend Kate says, how does she say it? Yeah, like, well, not expecting people to heal you, right? Like not expecting our audience this validation, but I think she says, is it intimate or is it vulnerable? is it, and I don't remember which one is which, but like basically the concept of like, are we going out there expecting that validation, or are we saying, you know what, I'm still in process and this is still a little bit raw, but I don't need, like, these comments aren't going to make or break me, right? Totally. Like I am grounded in my truth and process, even if it's still in process.
Yeah. And I think another thing you could say is, like, the best content is really generous. It leaves whoever's reading it better off, right? And if you're sharing vulnerable content, it usually makes them feel validated and less alone. And if you're sharing vulnerable content that's not actually fully processed, it can leave them feeling like, oh God, like, you know what I mean? Or worse, it has a different energetic quality. And it's not about how dark or light the topic is necessary. It's really about how clean the energy is behind it. And it's like, your journal is somewhere you can dump your toxic feelings. Like, your social media is a place where you can share your insights. And when you open up and when you're vulnerable, that's like a beautiful gift, but it has to come from that like elevated place. That's what I think.
So good. Yeah. I love that. So beautiful. Okay, this has been a great conversation.
I know. I love it.
I know. Thank you for being here and just sharing your truth. And before we head out, are there any other thoughts you have? And then, of course, we'll let people know where they can keep up with you if they want to hear more from you.
Well,
and Kate says, go ahead.
Go ahead. I wanted to say, I adore you. I just got so I just moved, and I think the package went to the wrong place, but I just got it. Was it Saturday or yesterday? And you are just the sweetest. I feel like for all of your listeners, like, this woman is doing marketing right. Like, number one, I'm honored to be interviewed, but you sent me this beautiful mug and like this notebook and pens. And it was just like such a personal touch and so sweet and so like, it made me feel like really special and really just like appreciated. And I think that like one of the best things about my business, or that's helped my business, has been my relationships with people. And I think so often we're trying to like get something out of people, or people will do this, or I don't know, like people will ask you to promote something and like you don't know them and you know what I mean? And there's a part of me that feels bad because I'm like a yes to like helping people. But like, I just think taking extra time and like infusing stuff with love, and like, you have a new baby. Like, I was just it's like, this is a classy chick. Like, I like this girl. You know what I mean? Like, that was really nice. And so I think that energy just speaks to like your level of like caring and attention to detail just in all areas. And like, when your clients feel that level of care, when people you're engaged with feel that level of care, like it's a really good thing, and it's really worth it. And I don't know, I just wanted to appreciate you publicly and just tell people that you're like doing a lot of things right. So kind.
I love it. And that's why I feel like everyone, including you that I invited on this series, like, I think I'm realizing like more and more like my ideal frienders in this space. Like, I think you're like a peer and a mentor and a friend to me, right? Like,
totally.
And my clients like all share the same values in many ways. And one of those main values is like sustainability, right? And not that means we're going to have the same business in 10 years, but like like our businesses are congruent and genuine enough in that we're in it for the long haul, meaning we're building relationships 100%. And we're not like, and that I think has given me so much clarity. But yes, I think doing business right for me means, which is what it means to you. Like, how do we really care for the people around us?
Totally.
As if we're going to be around them for more time than just this month.
Yeah. And it's about depth. And I think that's true with content too. Like, I think a lot of people can get really worried, like, oh, I don't have enough people, or I don't have a big enough following, but like, it just takes one, you know what I mean? And I've had a lot of, clients and friends who've started sharing more vulnerably online, and like that one person or that friend of a friend, even if you've never done any online marketing, you don't have a website. Like, I have one woman, she's just started sharing stories from this like very wise perspective that she, has. And, she got her first 3 clients through Facebook, through just her existing network of people who really saw themselves in her words, who really felt like, wow, like I think she would understand me, she could help me. They connected on the phone, and then they, you know, she's their coach. And so I think sometimes we feel like it has to be so complicated, but really, like, social media, we're all just like kind of like sitting around a fireplace, and one person's sharing her story to like help everybody else, you know? And it's just like, I don't know. It doesn't have to be so complicated, and like all you really need is like a voice and a life to like talk about and like something to help people with. Like, really.
I love it.
And a contract is good too.
Yes, totally. I love that you're bringing that up, because I think like I've had that mindset accidentally from the start, is like, how do I take care of my current peeps? Like literally when I had 10 people in my Facebook group, I wasn't really I mean, I did things to grow it, but like I was like, how do I really show up for these 10 people? Same thing with my email list or whatever. Like, and I feel like that's actually what's helped me grow so quickly, is being obsessed with how do I serve my 10 people? And I think that's kind of what you're saying too, which is like when we stop feeling like it's a numbers game. Like I have people tell me that all the time. Well, I have to do this because it's a numbers game. And I'm like, really, is it?
It's not a numbers game. Oh my God, I love that you said. I feel like we could just like talk for hours about this stuff.
I know.
What you said. But yeah, it's not, well, and I think it's so funny. I feel like marketing and sales is a lot like dating, and I don't think dating is a numbers game either. Like we all know that person who's going on like tons of online dates and like, you know, it's totally disconnected, hates it. It's like talking about how hard dating is. I'm like, that's not a good strategy either. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a numbers game at all.
So yes, I'm so grateful that you're someone that does. Like when I read, and by the way, if you want to keep following Rebecca, make sure you check out her personal Facebook page, because that's a great place to see that she puts a lot of great content out there. And I feel like you do that, right? Like you would be posting your truth, whether you had one friend on Facebook, or I'm sure you have a million friends on Facebook, right? Because it's like, that of course, like you're running an online business and want to make money, but it's also like you are just sharing your truth for the people that are there in the season and in this period of time, right?
Totally.
Beautiful. Okay, and also tell us just briefly about the course you have that's ending this week, because that sounds epic.
Yeah, so it starts on Wednesday. It's called Content Queen. It's really like my soul curriculum, if you will, but it's all about how to do this, right? How to actually find your voice, or not find, but like remember your voice, how to, you know, peel back layers of conditioning and fear that have been keeping you from really stepping out and sharing in a bigger way, how to like, you know, tactical strategies and tips for navigating the online world, and like a really loving container. So I call it my sparkly marketing cocoon. But I think, you know, doing this work, like there's a level of breaking social agreements. Like when you are sharing truth online and you're getting vulnerable, we all have this layer of conditioning that it's like, it's not cool to do that, right? And so when you're kind of peeling back these layers, you're doing like some pretty intense work sometimes, and it's really normal to have that be an emotional process, and there's no shame in that. And I think that process can feel so much better. Again, feel good marketing when you're not doing it alone, and when you're deeply held and loved. And so, you know, that's what the program's about. I love it.
I love it. How do people find out about it? I mean, what do they go to? Like, is there, I don't think so. Can you still hear me? Oh no. Am I frozen?
I think we maybe got
disconnected. Oh no. Can you hear me? Testing. Oh no. Okay. Well, maybe I will end it.
That helps.
I will post all the links to Rebecca's course and also her
is that better?
Facebook page below. So hopefully no connection. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Oh, good. Nicole says she can hear us. So I'll wrap this up. Thank you for being here, Rebecca. And I hope you guys have a great day. I will post the links for you guys below.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. Bye, sweetie.
Thank you, Rebecca.